friends, my name is Drishti and you are watching Target UPSC Prelims 2024 Current Affairs series by Drishti IAS. In this episode, we will be discussing about certain current affairs from the science and technological section. So basically, we have uploaded nearly 5 episodes before. This will be the 6th episode. If you have not watched these videos, please go ahead and watch these videos. These videos will be important for your prelims point of view. Okay, so let's start with the first topic of the day, that is basically Metaverse. Okay. So recently there has been this debates and the discourses which are related to Metaverse, which are in the public domain. And when we are talking about this Metaverse, it is a part of your, you can say, emerging technologies, etc. And when we see artificial intelligence, when we see virtual reality, augmented reality, these are all intermingled with each other. And when we are talking about this Metaverse, this is basically a virtual world wherein you can interact with each other. Okay, so let's talk about this. The Metaverse is an extension of our real world into a digital realm, providing an immersive multi-user experience for anyone accessing it across the globe. So basically, when we are talking about Metaverse, it is nothing but a virtual world, okay, created in the real world realm, wherein you can interact with each other wherever you are across the globe. You can use it with the use of internet. Okay, so basically here you can say that there will be a physical interaction, there will be an interaction of the physical people in a virtual world. Okay, and this world will look alike the real world. Okay, then accessing this virtual world requires the internet and the digital devices. The technology behind this is called augmented reality and the virtual reality. When we are talking about the virtual reality, you know that virtual reality means that there is nothing there in real, but you have created something virtually. Okay, so there are some, you can say, you must have seen some devices, visual devices which are put on your eyes, and then you will feel the reality across you, but that reality will be virtual reality. Okay, so like going for a 3D tour of a museum. Okay, these are certain example of the virtual realities. Okay, now on the other hand, when we are talking about this augmented realities, that means that the real world is existing over there, and in that real world some elements of the virtual reality will be placed over there. Like there was this game, that is Pikachu game. Okay, so in the real world there was this particular app which has made sure that there are certain you can say elements which are present in the real world only. Okay, so this is basically your augmented reality. Okay, now so basically here one thing is clear, that when we are talking about the augmented reality, we are talking about a reality which is augmented by the virtual elements. Okay, now here you can say when we are talking about Metaverse, it is basically a, you can say, a cross section of your physical world, virtual world and the digital world. Okay, when we are talking about the virtual world and the digital world, we call it digitization. Okay, when we are talking about the physical world and the virtual world, that is spatial computing, and then this is Metaverse. Okay, so basically Metaverse is a cross section of your physical world, virtual world and the digital world. Okay, now there are certain applications, etc., of this particular thing which we can see. For a simple example, if we talk about in the gaming area, okay, this Metaverse, or you can say this multiverse, etc., are quite you can say important, or you can say they are the best example. Gamings are the best example of this Metaverse. Okay, now what are the applications? So other than gaming, you can apply it on in the e-commerce, wherein bridging the gap between the physical and the virtual world, hence merging online and the offline commerces. Okay, for example, I'll take this example of Lenskart. Okay, so you must have heard about Lenskart. Now when you go to a store and take some shades or glasses, you can try it on, and then you can choose one for yourself. Now if you are going for the online e-commerce websites and you are choosing a shade, there is no option for you to try it on. But recently, with the help of these digital technologies, etc., they have made some kind of application wherein you can try on that particular glasses. You can click a picture, or you can start your own camera. There will be that shade, and you can actually try for it virtually. Okay, so basically that is the use wherein the gap between the physical and the virtual world can be diminished. Okay, then skill enhancement, if we talk about. Okay, so if we are talking about the skill enhancement, so scope of developing new experimental learning scenarios in a remote mode. Okay, learning from remote areas, you can say distance learning, but in a way that you can create an environment via virtual reality, etc., that can be very helpful. Then virtual tourism, 360 overview of a particular area. If there is a recording already, which you can put it on and then realize that you are walking through that particular area. Okay, so that is virtual tourism. Then education and learning, as I told you, with the help of virtual reality, augmented reality, you can go for the enhanced experience of distance learning. And when we are talking about the healthcare, that can also be used in the telemedicine, that can be used in the surgery from overseas, etc. So these are the application of your metaverse. Okay. Now, what are the challenges associated with it? So obviously, these are the, you can say, new arenas. There are various challenges related to it. Second thing is regulation of such things, because these are technologies which are emerging at a very fast pace. Okay, so regulation becomes kind of a very you can say a gray area. Okay, then online risk related to unwanted contact. Okay, now when we are talking about this metaverse, wherein you can actually live in a virtual world, you can interact with people over there. Okay, there can be an unwanted contact over there, because there are various people who are accessing that particular tool, and there can be an interaction with another person who you do not want to interact with. Okay, so such things are possible in this particular thing. So that is unwanted contact that can become more intrusive and pervasive. Okay, they can enter into your personal space. Okay, now, technology with its vast positiveness, there are some negative traditions attached to it. That is, the general point. The question of legislation. When we are talking about the regulation, that is one part, that who will legislate on that. Second part is jurisdiction. When we are talking about a metaverse, there is a person, or you can say a male character is there, a female character is there, and that male character is harassing the female character. Now, under whose jurisdiction that particular thing will come? Because the thing is, the experience, the person who are playing the game, the person who are involved in that, they are experiencing it one on one. That person is abusing the other person. So in that case, he is going through a mental abuse. Okay, he or she is going through a mental abuse. Now, who under whose jurisdiction that harassment will come? Okay, so this is just an example for you. Okay, so that is the challenges which are associated with the metaverse. Okay, now coming to the next part, that is basically your Goldilocks zones. Okay, when we are talking about the space technology, when we are talking about the space related research, etc., there is certain important terminology. One of them is Goldilocks zones. Okay, when we are talking about these Goldilocks zones, these are basically nothing but the habitable area, or you can say areas where life may be possible. Okay, now when we are talking about these habitable areas, there are certain things, okay, that these areas should not be too hot, or they should not be too cold. Okay, when we are talking about our own solar system, Earth is at a position wherein it is not too hot and not too cold. Okay, let's say Saturn is too cold to be live on. And when we are talking about the Mercury like planets, which are too hot to be because they are in the vicinity of sun. Now Earth is at a place where there is an optimal amount of temperature. There is the because of which there is accessibility of water, and life is basically possible on that. Now such areas where life is possible are called Goldilocks zones. Okay, now when we are talking about the habitable area, there can be various kind of habitable area, or basically there are two. Okay, one is related to your solar, or you can say around the sun or the star. Second are basically are around the galaxies. Okay, we will talk about that. Let's come here. The definition of the habitable zone is the distance from a star at which liquid water could exist. Okay, distance from a star. Okay, star will be at the center, and there will be a possibility of liquid water there. Okay, and on the planets which are orbiting across the star. Now, habitable zones are also known as the Goldilocks zones, where conditions might be just right, neither too hot, neither too cold for life. Okay, so that is basically, you can say, these are the habitable areas. Okay, and they are also known as Goldilocks zones. Now, looking about our own solar system, this is Sun. Now, Mercury, then Venus. These are too hot a planet to live upon. Okay, then when we are talking about other planets like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, now these planets are too cold to live upon. Now this is the belt, the green belt over here. This is basically your Earth, and this Mars. Okay, again there are traces of water on Mars. Okay, when we are talking about Moon, there are traces of water on Moon. But when we are talking about Earth, Earth is the right amount of temperature wherein water is existing, wherein life is existing. Okay, so this is basically your Goldilocks zone. Okay, where Earth is revolving around the sun. Okay, so that is basically, you can say, it is a circular area or an elliptical area under which life is possible. Okay, now there are various types. As I told you, there are two types. One is your stellar. Stellar means that the life around this star. Then galactic, around inside a galaxy. Now let's see. The first one is the orbital region around a star where planet can support liquid water on its surface. Okay, Now here we have talked about this particular picture. Now this is basically your stellar. Okay, so this particular green zone over here, this orbit under which Earth is revolving around the sun, that is basically a stellar zone wherein life is possible. So that is stellar. Then when we are talking about the second one, that is galactic. So galactics are basically, in the vicinity of the galaxy, there are also zones wherein temperature is just about right, wherein you can say different form of life can be present over there. Okay, so let's see over here. This is our galaxy. This is the center of our galaxy, and now around this particular here, there is this particular belt. Okay, now let's take. Okay, so this particular belt over here. This belt is basically a place wherein you can have life, and in that particular place we have our sun. Okay, so this is basically our sun over here, and around the sun we have our solar system. So in the galaxy there is this place where, or you can say there is this belt wherein life is possible, that is galactic habitable zone. In that habitable zones we have our sun. Okay, now this particular zone where around the sun there is this life, that is stellar, you can say habitable zones. Okay, under which we are living in. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now there are galactic habitable zones, there are stellar habitable zones. Okay, now across this particular area there are various suns which might have life. So there is a possibility that other than our planet there might be possibility of other you can say planet on which life is there, maybe inside our galaxy, and there are possibilities that there are various galaxies, obviously that is there, and there is another possibility that says that there can be various universe as well. Okay, but now again these are all speculations, or so that is why we will not go into details of all these things, but I hope this is clear that stellar and the galactic zones are clear over here. Okay, now moving further, nuclear medicine. This is the simplest topic. If UPSC asks you about this, they will simply ask you what is nuclear medicine. Okay, with the name itself it is clear that it is talking about something related to nuclear type of elements, nuclear elements, or you can say radioactive elements. Okay, so let's see. Nuclear medicine is rapidly advancing field of medicine that uses small amount of radioactive materials. Okay, when we are talking about the materials like uranium, cadmium, etc., these are radioactive materials. We are using small amount or small traces of these materials to go for some kind of treatment and diagnosis. Okay, called radiopharmaceuticals. Okay, obviously these are the radioactive elements, that is why they are called radiopharmaceuticals. Okay, so please remember these terms, that is radiopharmaceutical, nuclear medicine. Now medical radioisotopes enable medical imaging to save millions of lives. Imaging means that to go for the diagnosis there are certain tests. Okay, so x-ray imaging there is there. Okay, other than that there are various kind of imaging, that is medical imaging. Okay, in those imagings we can use these nuclear elements like you can say radioactive materials, because they are having this property of emitting radioactive radiations. That's why. Now nuclear medicine has been available in India for 50 years. Nuclear medicine can help accurate and early diagnosis. Okay, accurate and early diagnosis of various conditions, leading to better treatment planning and improved patient outcomes. Okay, just remember that what is nuclear medicines, what is radiopharmaceuticals. Okay, so that definition would suffice for your exam point of view. Okay, now coming to the next part. Astra Missile. Now this is an indigenously developed missile. Here you can see Astra, the first indigenously developed air-to-air missile, was successfully flight tested across the coast of Odisha. Okay, now this missile was launched with this particular aircraft, that is Sukhoi 30 Mk1. Okay, the Astra Missile is developed by Defense Research and Development Organization, that is DRDO. So these are three facts which you must remember. Other than that, there are other things like it is the beyond visual range air-to-air missile. Air-to-air missile is that it will be launched via an aircraft. Okay, and to another aircraft, maybe air-to-air missile. Second thing is that it is beyond visual range. The pilot can target a particular, you can say they can go for a particular target. Okay, even if it is beyond their visual range. Okay, so there are various navigation and the precision systems which are installed inside this particular missile, that is indigenously developed by the DRDO. Okay, now here you can say that enables fighter pilots to shoot precisely at the enemy targets which are beyond their visual range. Now deadly feature of this missile is that option to choose between lock on before launch and lock on after launch. When we are talking about the lock on, this is basically a technology which is used for the locking the target. Okay, so before the launch you can lock the target, after the launch also you can lock the target. Okay, so that is basically deadly feature which has been incorporated in this particular missile. Astra is extremely effective in multi-target scenarios and therefore has been described as the most potent weapon system for Indian Air Force combat aircraft. Okay, so that is about Astra missile. This is air to air. It is beyond visual range missile. Okay, and this is the first indigenously developed air to air missile. Okay, it is developed by DRDO. Now moving further, Project 75. Now this project has been in news and recently there are various submarines which has been commissioned. Okay, that is why it becomes even more important. Okay, this INS Imphal, and there are various such ships has been commissioned. So this INS Imphal was recently commissioned, so that is why it becomes important for you. Let's come to the article again. The Defense Acquisition Council DAC has approved the issuance of a request for proposal for the construction of 6 conventional submarines under Project 75I, that is Project 75 India. Now what is Project 75? It is basically a project which is related to the manufacturing of submarines in India. So basically indigenous development of indigenous manufacturing of these submarines. It started way back then, but still we are actually lagging behind the target, because the target was to go for commission of 24 submarines by 2030 or 2029. But the thing is, because of the lack of funds, etc., we are not achieving it. Till now we have 6 submarines. Okay, we'll talk about that. This project envisages indigenous construction of the submarines equipped with the state-of-the-art air-independent propulsion system at the estimated cost of 43,000 crores. Project 75I, approved in 2007, is a part of Indian Navy's 30-year plan for indigenous submarine construction. Okay, so in 30-year plan, there was this particular plan under which you are supposed to go for the manufacturing of the submarines. Now it will be the first under the strategic partnership model, which was promulgated in 2017 to boost the indigenous defense manufacturing. As I told you, India is going for the indigenous development of this manufacturing of defense related equipment. We are trying to go for being an export hub as well. There is this defense corridor which has been established in UP. All these things are important for your prelims. Now, in 1999, Ministry of Defense approved a plan to construct 24 submarines over 30 years span. However, due to financial constraints, only 6 submarines of the Cavalry class. Now, what is Cavalry class? It is a class of submarine, or you can say these submarines which are built under this particular class almost have similar features, but they were advanced, at particular stage. Okay, when we are talking about the first submarine, which was Cavalry class, that is INS Cavalry. And when we are talking about the second, that is 𝐿𝐴, then 𝐾𝐳 is there, 𝐏𝐵𝐿𝐴, 𝐵𝐺 and 𝐽𝐿𝐵. These are the submarines which are, you can say Cavalry class. Each of them have almost the basic features are same, but they are developed over time. Okay, the advancement of with the advancement of the technology, the features has even more, became more advanced. Okay, so these are the Cavalry class submarines: INS Cavalry, 𝐿𝐴, 𝐾𝐳, 𝐏𝐵𝐿𝐴, 𝐵𝐺, 𝐽𝐿𝐵. Now all these things you should remember. This is the recent one, 𝐵𝐺. Okay, so please remember that. Would be authorized for the operational status by the 2030s. Now this has been already operational. Okay, now when we are talking about under the Project 75 Alpha, this is another project, or you can say part of this particular project, that is Project 75 Alpha. The Indian Navy wants to obtain nuclear powered attack submarines. Okay, nuclear power attack submarines. One of them is INS Arihant. We will talk about that. Here you can see these are Cavalry, 𝐿𝐴, 𝐾𝐳, 𝐏𝐵𝐿𝐴, 𝐵𝐺 and 𝐽𝐿𝐵. Okay, now this is your Cavalry class. Now there is this Arihant class. Okay, it is Indian design, and 2 in service. There are Arihant and Arighat. These 2 names, please remember that these are nuclear submarines of India. Nuclear submarines, INS Arihant and Arighat, are the class of Indian nuclear powered ballistic missile submarines, which are classified as the strategic strike nuclear submarines. Arihant was launched in 2009 but commissioned in 2016 after various tests. So Arihant is commissioned in 2016. Please remember that. So these are our nuclear class submarines. Okay, so please remember these 2 names as well, Arihant and Arighat. Okay, now moving further, Maya operating system. With the name operating system, we know that it has something to do with the software related part, or the mobile systems, or the laptop, computer, etc. So basically, when we are talking about operating systems, we have Windows. Okay, we have other systems like when we are talking about Apple, they have their own iOS, we have Android. All these things are basically our operating systems. Now, when we are talking about this Maya operating system, this is indigenously developed operating system of India. Okay, it is based on the Ubuntu interface, but it is indigenously developed. Indian Defense Ministry has decided to replace the Microsoft operating system on the internet connected computers with a new OS called Maya. Okay, this is developed by the locally based open source Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu is basically a open source application or open source software on which we have generated this Maya operating system. Okay, now when we are talking about the security related aspects, Ubuntu is kind of secure system. Okay, Ubuntu is one of the most widely used Linux distribution in the world, and it is known for the high level of the security. Okay, that is one thing. Here you can see Indian Defense Ministry has decided to do that, because there are certain aspects of security and the national security and defense which are associated with it. There are some laptops which are used by these ministries, etc. If they are having a system which is Microsoft based and it is not an indigenous system, so there are risk of, you can say, security related, you can say classified information might get leaked. That is why we have gone for the Maya operating system, that is indigenous system. So we will have all the controls. Okay, now this move comes in the response to the accelerating incidents of the cyber attacks, in like growing threats of malware and the ransomware attacks. We have seen in the recent past that there are various cyber attacks has been happening. Ransomwares are there. Ransomware means malware, wherein your computer access will be denied to you until you pay a huge ransom. Okay, so these are ransomwares, etc. In the wake of all these things, cyber attacks, cyber security, etc., we have gone for the development of our own indigenous system, that is Maya operating system. Okay, it is on the lines of your Ubuntu, so please remember that as well. Now, the idea of Maya OS was conceived in 2001 after India faced several cyber attacks from foreign actors that targeting its critical infrastructure and the defense system. The Defense Ministry decided to create its own operating system that would be more secure and reliable than Microsoft Windows. The transition to Maya is aimed at bolstering the security without disrupting the user experience. Now they are saying that without disrupting the user experience. So that is why what they will do is they will design it as per on the lines of Windows, like the whatever experience was there on the Windows, similar experience will be designed in this particular Maya operating system. So the users will not have to go for a tedious task of learning this particular system. Interface will be almost similar. Okay, alongside Maya's implementation, a comprehensive endpoint detection and the protection system is there, that is 𝐶𝐢𝐲. Okay, is being also introduced in to fortify this particular system. This is, you can say, one step ahead or one more step in the security of this system, that is 𝐶𝐢𝐲. Now it is an comprehensive and endpoint detection protection system. Okay, you don't have to remember all these things, just know that there is this particular system, that is 𝐶𝐢𝐲, that is also to deal with the cyber security related threats. Okay, now moving further, rare earth elements. Okay, when we are talking about this rare earth elements, these are rare because not because of their abundance, or you can say not because their presence, but the thing is, first thing, in the, you can say, your periodic table, these are limited 17 elements are there. Second thing is, the extraction of these elements is quite costly. There is the infrastructure which is required, there is the investment which is required, and that is why these are called rare earth elements. Okay, now amid India's reliance on China, mostly when we are talking about the rare earth elements, we are relied on China mostly, nearly more than 92 to 97% of demand are basically we are going for the imports from the China. Okay, now the Confederation of Indian Industry has urged the government to encourage private mining in the sector and diversify supply sources. Private mining means that you want investment, private player can go for investment. Second thing is diversify the supply sources. Diversify supplying source means that other than China, you have to go for other countries as well. Okay, now China has the huge deposit, and that is why most of things are basically imported from China. When we are talking about the other deposits, there are other countries, but the resources with these countries are not there to extract these things. So we can go for, you can say, some kind of you can say agreements with these countries and support the infrastructure over there. Now, though India has 6% of the world's rare earth reserve, 6% of the reserve, but the thing is, when we are talking about the production, we have only 1% of the global output. Okay, 6% reserve but 1% output, because we don't have that kind of investment and the infrastructure. Okay, the meets most of these requirement of such material from China. 2018-19, for instance, 92% of the rare earth metal imports by value and 97% by the volume were from basically China. Okay, which I have already discussed. Here you can see the rare metals are just set of 17 metallic elements, 17 metallic elements. When we are talking about your periodic table, these are the 15 lanthanide series. Okay, that is lithium, cadmium, all these names are there, so you can go through this. Okay, the other two are scandium and this particular yttrium. Okay, so these are 17 elements which are basically your rare earth elements. Okay, these includes 15 lanthanides on the periodic table in addition to the scandium, and second is yttrium, that shows similar properties, physical and chemical properties with the lanthanide series. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This is your periodic table and these are the elements starting from the lanthanides from here 57. This is the series of your 15 elements. Okay, total 17 rare earth metals are there. Now when we are talking about the production and the reserves, here you can say that mostly China is there. Okay, India have nearly 6% of these, China have nearly 44% or something like that. Okay, US has small 1.4%, and here you can say Brazil area, that is having 22%, and this Vietnam and China, Brazil are the most, you can say, largest reserve of this particular elements. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So these minerals have unique magnetic and luminescent and the electrochemical properties, and thus they are used in many modern technologies. Okay, so when we are talking about these metals, there are various use. So if UPSC is asking you some question based on application, I would suggest that most of the time the all of the above will be the answer, because the thing is you can use them in various aspects. In a little amount, if you are going for the small amount, they can be useful in various arenas. Okay, so here you can see in the modern technologies, when we are talking about the modern technology, we are covering a lot of things. Okay, including consumer electronics, computers, networks, communications, healthcare, national defense, clean energy technologies, obviously. So all these things. When we are talking about education, so even in education, if you are going for the distance learning, etc., you need tab, etc. So ultimately in all arenas that can be used. Okay, they are called rare earth because earlier it was difficult to extract them from their oxide form technologically. They occur in many minerals, but typically in low concentration to be refined and economically managed. So when we are talking about the occurrence, that occurrence is with many minerals, it can be extracted, but the thing is that will not be economically viable. Okay, so that is why they are called rare earth metals. Okay, I hope this is clear. So with that, I would like to stop this conversation over here. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.